You're listening to My Inner Teacher with Peter Starius and Krystal Ariel. The answers you seek are within you.
Yay! I've been waiting ever since you said yes. I think it was like a month ago, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. I've been waiting for this day because I was telling Peter I've been religiously listening to your forecasts for about a year on YouTube. And I listened to the whole thing, maybe not all at once, but like I listened to pieces throughout the day, throughout the week. And you're just so, I just resonate with everything you say. And there's so much wisdom, but it's like this wisdom accompanied by a deep sense of self and humility. And I don't know, that's very attractive in a person. Like I can tell that you've done a lot of work on yourself and you've done a lot of inner work. And so I was like, you know what? Let's talk to Nina and get her on here to talk about her journey with her inner teacher. So we'd love to know more about, maybe we can start with, how did you get into astrology? Like what led you there?
Yes, first of all, thank you for this amazing introduction. I really feel that you felt it. And that's what it's about. People will resonate who really feel that deeply. And it takes really to do that, to live that in order for others to hear you, what you're saying, what you're transferring. It's not so much about what I'm saying, but, people feel that it's real. And that's what makes it so powerful and significant. And it wasn't my intention ever to make this my work. I was doing this only because I wanted to help myself. And that was all that it was about. The astrology was only my tool for getting myself out of the misery that I see around me, and that nothing makes sense. Like all this life is absurd and what is going on in the world. And then astrology kicked in, and it really helped me understand what was going on with everything. And I hope you hear me now, because I see you now frozen.
Yeah, we hear you.
And okay, great. And yeah. Okay, good. Then it's on my side, but it doesn't matter. And astrology, for me, it wasn't only astrology. It came together in the package with mythology, with psychology, with esoteric teachings, occult teachings, mystical teachings, ancient teachings, Vedic teachings. Like everything was there together, and it all made sense, because I figured out that these teachings are all saying the same in different ways. So I was like putting pieces together. And what really initiated me was when I first read about the moon in Scorpio. And I have my natal moon in Scorpio. And when I first went through it, I was really mind blown, but I was also somehow irritated and frustrated, because I was like, is this even real? Like, then what am I? Am I just a program? Because I thought this is who I am. This is my authentic self. This is my identity. But then I figured out this is not my identity, and it's just a code that it lives through me, that is channeled through me. So it's not me. And I was really identified with that aspect of myself for a very long time. And then through other teachings, through reading Gurdjieff, I don't know if you know about Gurdjieff, and his mentors and students, he was always talking about, he was putting a lot of accent on non-identification, because he said that the source of suffering is our identification with our personality, and that our personality is something completely different from our essential selves. And we have to walk through that personality in order to reach the essential selves. And that's the same that astrology is teaching. Like the real astrology is not about, prophecies and predictions. That's not really the essence of astrology. It's more about really getting your imprint, your soul genetics, your account, your bill. Actually, your natal chart is like our bill that we come here with, and it's an imprint of our journey in this time and space, and it gives us everything that we need in order to unlock everything that needs to be unlocked. But if we don't do that, then we just keep repeating all the same. We are stuck in the loop. and we have an opportunity to get out of that loop. And astrology and the wisdom that is given to us through astrology and that connects us with all other systems of knowledge is priceless. And what the system did was to separate all those teachings, because it's much harder to understand and comprehend what's going on. And they mix truth with lies. So those half information, half truths are the most dangerous, because they give you something and people go there, but then they mix it with lies, and you never know who to trust, what to believe in, and what to do, where to start from. But if you have that intention, really, if you feel like so desperate that nothing else can do the work for you but to do the inner work, to really face yourself, then all doors open, and you just start receiving things, and you just start connecting, because everything speaks to us all the time. Like, life is constantly communicating with us in everything that we hear, touch, people we meet, sentences we hear. It's all, but of course, it's not about becoming obsessed with it. Like, I have some friends who understand it literally, like, like everything they have to analyze it. It's not about analyzing. It's more like a song. It's more like drinking a glass of water. It just flows and it moves like a river, and it's alive knowledge. It's alive, and it's not something that we can like take and own and have it and then separate it into pieces and analyze it, like what they are doing in CERN or somewhere. They're trying to separate things into pieces and to find the essential cell of the divinity. No, it's something that cannot be found outside. It's a constant journey, actually, and we are continuously discovering. And people also think like this new age story that becomes very popular and attractive lately is counterproductive, because people really believe that if they change their environment, if they reach something, if they, I don't know, lose weight, if they start eating healthy, that everything will come into place. But you can do it in the prison cell. You can do it in all conditions. There are no excuses. In the middle of the chaos, this is where the real self-work needs to be done. And this is what astrology, at least for me, was. Like, it really took me on that journey within my black hole, the soul. But black holes are not bad. Again, they are telling us black holes are something that sucks us in and we disappear and we are gone forever. And this is it, this life, and it's gone forever. But that would be absurd, and it would be too easy for us. It would be too easy. Like, we can do just anything and just disappear like that and nothing ever happens. No. It goes way deeper than that. And those black holes and our own darkness is where the seeds are planted, because we plant seeds in the darkness, and we have to lay those roots strongly in the darkness so that we can really grow, because then we have the knowledge of the depth and the knowledge of the surface, not only of the surface, but because if we want to really rule ourselves, to be self-masters, we have to, as we walk up, we have to walk down to the same degree. So as much as we grow, the more we have to grow our roots down there. And of course, it's scary, but it's the only work that pays off, really.
Yeah,
I mean, this is in short.
In short, yes. I love that you said black hole, because Peter was talking about black holes the other day.
Oh,
yeah.
really?
I've had these experiences of the inner black hole. Kind of listening to you talk, it's definitely similar journey, where this numbness and stagnation that I felt for many years just started to unravel, and the catalyst for me was breaking my back, and in that physical, trapped in this physical shell that was painful, it forced me deeper within myself, and it's a psychic journey inward and
Oh, yeah.
touching these places that they're familiar but they're not. It's like meeting yourself for the first time. Again, just listening to you talk, I feel like I've known what you're doing, even though I don't know that much about astrology. So I'm curious though, like what were you like as a kid?
Great, interesting question. I didn't expect this one to come up.
Well, I mean, were
But
you that story for me, everyone asked me what I was like as a kid, and I was always asking questions, you know, they're
mhm.
just nonstop questions. And where did that come from? I was curious,
Yeah,
you know, like I wanted to know. Well, how about you?
yeah, okay, interesting. So as I was just talking the other day with one of my friends about this, and I often mention when I speak about how I was actually initiated into this journey. And that's how astrology also works, because we have certain positions and aspects that definitely are like magnetic fields. This is like electromagnetism, and you cannot avoid it. You know, no matter where you are, what you're doing, you will have to cross with that path. And when I was little, I was really obsessed with question of death. Death was my obsession, really, and nobody around me was talking about death or anything, but I was really, really obsessed by it. And I watched all the movies, all the things. Wherever I saw theme of death, I was like, I have to see this. And um, also when I was in the kindergarten, uh, our teacher, or what I don't know the name in English, but how do you say about the teacher in kindergarten, but she told us like everything that lives has to die. Everything that you see that is alive, one day it will be gone forever.
Wow.
And I was like, no, that's not possible. No, that's like, she's kidding. Like, this is, I was really like first laughing, and then I came home and I said like, that's not true. That's not true, because I know it's not true. How can this? I remember I was like 5 years old. How can this that feels things disappear? How can how can I disappear? I cannot disappear. But nobody could give me any answer. So I literally started exploring on my own since then. And everything that
Wow.
was paranormal or otherworldly, all the, you know, themes about science fiction and paranormal activities and a life after death, this was like my instant attraction. And I was going into that kind of thing. And then I realized that it was always leading me into this, because I was also attracted to symbols, all the symbolism. Whenever I saw the symbolism of elements, the symbols of astrology of planets, the symbols of sacred geometry, I was crazy about it ever since I was a kid. And I was really interested in it, and I was reading a lot. Ever since I was a kid, I was reading a lot, and I was wondering, like, there is something deeply wrong with the world I live in. I realized this through everything, through observing everything, family relationships, uh, marriages, friendships, kids at school, teachers. I realized that this is not how this should be. There is something deeply wrong. And I was kind of, since I came into this body, and probably even before, there is prenatal chart also, I was like initiated into this, just like probably everyone I meet on my journey, just like you too. So it's something that we know all the time, but it takes something to unlock the path fully. And for me, it wasn't really unlocked until, I don't know, maybe 8, 9 years ago. That's when I really started going into it, because I exhausted every other option and I was always reaching the dead end. And then I realized, okay, now I really have to deal with myself. And when I really was really 100% serious about it, that's when things really started coming to me, like books, information, teachings, certain insights about things that then aligned with what I was discovering on the outside. So it was really like a magic thing for me. And that's how of course, we will come to that, to Moon Omens, and how I got in touch with them. So that's like what was I like when I was little?
No,
Hope that
that's
answered your
fantastic.
question.
No,
Yeah.
so this word luck keeps showing up in my life. And I don't know what it's about exactly, what that word in English implies, but it does seem like, and maybe it's all in the astrology. You tell me, is there anything called luck in astrology?
Well, it depends from which aspect of life we are looking into it. The answer is yes and no. You know, because actually everything needs to be earned. And for example, if we see someone who never really did anything hard or didn't put any effort, but still has everything, then we can call them lucky, right? But what we call lucky on one side can be very unlucky on the other side, or this person really deserves it, because we don't know the invisible aspect of what's behind, of what's imprinted in the soul genetics into those different timelines and lifetimes. And, you know, luck also needs to be deserved. So is it luck? Or it isn't luck. But of course, we experience things. What I'm saying all the time, we get lucky when we really make a conscious decision to do things for ourselves that we expect others to do for us. And when we start really being a friend with ourselves, when we really start becoming a friend with life, instead of struggling with life, fighting with life, we are in some constant battle. Like everyone is in some kind of battle. We are struggling for everything, surviving. And of course, we can never get lucky in that way, but we can attract that. Attract. I don't have a better word for it, but it aligns with us. Everything around us it resonates with what we carry inside of us. So the question is what we carry inside of us, how we perceive life, how we perceive situations that happen to us. And I always say it's not about what we are experiencing, but how we are reacting to what we are experiencing. And this is what dictates the luck. And when we come to astrology, of course, there are aspects and positions in astrology that show us that there are lucky things, but we also earned those positions. We didn't just get them at lottery. We earned those positions. They are like precisely calculated, perfect design for my persona, for your persona, for your persona. So it's perfectly designed. And we are all given not the same potential, but we have the same amount of abilities to unlock the potential. And we all get different tools. For example, let's say that Mars is in Aries, it's in its own sign. And if you need to take action, to be decisive, assertive, to be action oriented, to move forward, to really be, straightforward, then it's good for that. But if someone needs to be active and self-assertive, but has Mars in Pisces, for example, then this person will struggle a lot. It's like you need a knife, but you have a spoon, and you have to use that spoon to do the thing that will knife do. So it's all different options. Like we have to find alternatives. And everyone has something that is perfectly good for them and something where we have to struggle. So this is like we have to develop these things. And it's not only like, let's work on what's good for us, what's going good for us, but okay, that's going good. But now let's work on these things that are not really doing well. So we can, give them muscles too. Like let's give them inner power, inner strength. And it's a workout. It's really a workout.
Hey, quick note. Peter's Inner Teacher Academy is launching soon. If this is resonating with you, head over to innerteacheracademy.com and grab a spot on the wait list. These trainings are intimate and space is limited. So if you want to be first in line, tap the link in the description below and sign up.
You can also see details about my 2025 retreats at some incredible locations around the world, like Iceland, Austria, California, and New Zealand. Attendance at these trainings will count towards in-person hours for the Inner Teacher Academy. And now let's get back to the magic. I'm laughing deeply inside here because on one level of my life, just incredible coincidences are showing up. But then I have a 17-year-old daughter at home, and that is
amazing.
The struggle, like that world, that mindset, that period of life where it's confrontive, it's combative, it's like, come on, I'm the man that brought you into this world, and I wiped your butt, and all these things. Give me some space to be bad.
Yeah.
But no, it's like I say this a lot, like I'm not interested in learning spirituality from someone who's never had children. You know, like if you've had children and you're a spiritual, you know, on that journey, then I want to hear what your life is like. It's really fascinating.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the question of children is very tricky, and it's a big. People find in having children a lot of reasons to justify everything that they're doing and why they're doing it. It's like it's enough that I have a kid, and it's understood that I can or cannot do something. And it's such an emotional attachment, and it can be a big trap. But of course it is also a portal, just like anything else. It's a big portal and a powerful connection with also who we are, because our ancestors and our descendants are actually the same. And we, like, I am the center of my world, my life. I stretch between my ancestors and descendants. They are like the past and the future, but I'm the present. But there is nothing but the now, and they are all in me. So, and as parents, people continuously focus on their children instead of doing the work on themselves, because then they give the children the example. It's not like do as I say, but do as I do. You know, I will be your role model. And we have to do our work always as if our higher self is always watching us. Like, what kind of role model do I want to be? And there is a great poem from Khalil Gibran about children. He says, your children are not your children. They are just arrows that you shoot in the sky. And you have to let them grow on their own. You know, you give them the foundation, you give them what is needed as a base, but then you have to let them go, because they also have their center, and they also have, you are their ancestor. You are the ancestor of your kid. You know, you have to watch from many different angles, because if we really want to unlock that self-mastery level, we have to be able to observe 360-degree view, but we usually see only this or maybe sometimes this and this. But how about being able to see it completely?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a bit complex, but also simple. Yeah.
Yeah. As things, Einstein said, things should be as simple as they can be, but not simpler, you know? And I hear that
Yeah.
in my life. Like my whole journey as a teacher has been to make things as simple as they can be and not simpler. Like, don't dumb it down. Just try to find articulate language with terms that are familiar, not esoteric terms all the time, that are
Yeah.
familiar for people, that they can connect just in a simple conversation. So
Exactly.
I get that.
Yes.
So let's talk about Moon Omens. How did you make your way there, and how did that come about? I mean, Moon Omens is huge.
Yes, it is. And I didn't have any idea about Moon Omens before they actually contacted me through Upwork platform. I was
Wow.
yeah, I was actually doing my job as a software tester before Moon Omens. I was a software tester, and I actually graduated University of Applied Computer Science. And I'm a graduated engineer of electronics. So I was doing different kinds of things like IT sector and tech support. I was also operator at a telecom, all kinds of different things, you know. And in what I was doing actually during my working hours, whenever I had time, I was reading, studying, exploring, researching. I was investing all my time and energy into this. And then it was 2019. I figured out that I cannot do the work that I'm doing anymore, ever. I don't want to stay in the office 8 hours doing some meaningless thing that supports some, I don't know, brands that I don't support personally. And I figured out this is absurd. What am I doing? I'm quitting this job no matter what. Even if I stay homeless, I don't care. Like, I will always have some food. I have family and friends. Like, I will survive. I don't want to do this. and I didn't have any idea what I'm going to do. I didn't even dream of earning through astrology or doing this as my job. But I did quit that job, and then I had a long summer just on one beach that is 13 kilometers long, and I was there camping for 4 months. I stayed until November, and we have winter in December. So it was really a big, deep process of self-healing, of cleansing, of purification and everything. And I was really relaxed about my, I don't know, incomes, earnings, everything. I didn't think about it at all. And I figured out one day, I remembered that there is a platform called Upwork. And I was like, okay, maybe I can do some part-time job related to astrology. Why not? I know it very well. I've studied it to the depth. And I figured out that many people do astrology who have no idea what they're talking about. And I was like, okay, this madness maybe can, be twisted. Maybe I can contribute in some way. And I was sending many different, I was applying for different jobs wherever I saw astrology. I didn't even read what they are looking for. I just see astrology and I send them application. And I didn't receive any answer for a very long time. It was like almost 1 year. And then during the pandemic, during the pandemic time, it was April of 2020, I got an email finally from Upwork, like, would you be interested in writing a short zodiac set about archetypes of each sign? And I didn't know who they are or what they are doing. It was just a name. It didn't even mention Moon Omens. And I said, yes, of course. So I wrote that a short for Instagram, short paragraphs about each zodiac sign and their archetypes. And they were mind blown because they told me, like, what kind of astrology is this? Like, we haven't seen this before. And they loved it and they wanted me to write more of these short Instagram things. But whenever they asked me to write 200, 300 words, I would write double. And they said, wow, you are really, you love writing. Like, would you love to write some books for us? And I said, yes. And that's how first we agreed for Zodiac and crystals. And then later, because I was talking, we have our chat with the team. This is like really, it's a miracle. It's like a fairy tale coming true. But that's what I'm telling. Like, it's not that I have to hunt, to chase something. It comes to me when I am, rooted in myself, then that will come to me. I don't have actually to do anything special. It will come to me. Just like you sent me this invitation for this podcast also. And so we figured out through the story that the theme of the Age of Aquarius is very important. It's very deep, very profound, and the information is insane, and that there is so much misinformation about it. And Lucas from Moon Omens, he told me, like, look, Nina, we have to do the book about the Age of Aquarius. And that's how I started the Age of Aquarius, and also the sacred goddesses and the moon. I don't know the title exactly, what we call the book, but it's about the goddesses and the moon. The sacred feminine, yes. And I started writing horoscopes, those big, huge horoscopes, monthly horoscopes. I wasn't supposed to do that, but it happened one day that the person who was writing them wasn't able to do that for the month, for the upcoming month. So they asked me, would you do it? Would you jump in and write a monthly horoscope, just short? And I said yes. So I did it, and they loved it, and they told me, okay, you are now, this is your obligation now. You are doing our monthly horoscopes. You stop writing those short Instagram posts. You focus on big projects, and that's it. And
wow.
It's been 5 years since then. It's now 5 years, and it's really, it's the most powerful thing that I feel, that not me personally doing it, but it touches so many souls and it connects. Yes, it's really amazing. It's insane. And I know when people, write me and tell me, like, you have no idea, like, your words made me quit my job, or I went through divorce because of your words and it saved me. And I'm like, okay, I realize my responsibility in this. I'm really aware of the amount of responsibility in doing what I'm doing. And it's not just, talking for the sake of talking or having followers or anything. It's really coming from from the place of where I want to be good, and I'm sharing everything that I'm doing myself, and whatever I shared is what I tested on myself. So that's how I got to Moon Omens, and it's growing. It's
Wow.
really growing bigger.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean the parallels. It just I'm in awe of your stories. I in a kind of different way. I had a friend who was writing for Yoga Journal, and she was writing a beginner's column once a month. And when her term was over, she reached out to me and she said, "Have you ever been a writer?" And I said, "No." Well, I just recommended you to Yoga Journal, to write my column, her column. And so Yoga Journal contacts me and they said, "Can you write a 1,500 word article?" 1,500 words seemed like, crazy amount of words. So they sent a list of all the poses that had been written in their magazine before, and here was a list of poses. And the pose that was on the list still was child's pose, which is the most basic beginner pose you do. And so I wrote a 1,500 word
Yeah.
on child's pose. They had invited 10 other yoga teachers to write the article, and I got the job. And I said, "Well, I'm not a writer." And they said, "The reason you got the job is anyone that can write 1,500 words about child's pose has to be a writer." And they loved it.
Yes.
So that was the first step into writing. And then the second step was a book. And that was even, like you said, it comes to you. Talked to so many writers that struggled to find a publisher. And the publisher
Oh,
actually
yeah.
reached out to me because they were trolling the Esalen in California. There's this retreat resort, Esalen, on the coast overlooking the ocean, which I was teaching at regularly. And the catalog every year was, an inch thick, of all the workshops they were offering. They troll the titles of the workshops to look for book titles. And the title that my workshop was Gravity and Grace. And so they locked in on those two words, and they sent me an email and saying, "Would you write a book?" And it's like a 75,000 word book. And I'm going, "Oh shit, I can't do that." But they said, "Here's the advance. See you in a year." And so
Wow.
that's how it happened. And that book, like you said, there isn't a week that goes by where I don't get some kind of connection from someone who's read the book and it's changed their life. And for me, it's not the reason I wrote the book necessarily, but I was called to write it. And it's a lot about my journey through
Yeah.
broken back. And yeah, now it's out there. And then this podcast showed up because of Krystal and her husband. And now you show up, and it's just like, this is the joy that when Krystal said, "You have to do a podcast," I go, "No, I've got too much on my life." But now
Yeah.
I look forward to these conversations. You're so refreshing. I'm just
Thank
in
you.
awe.
My Mars is in Aries, by the way, so I take that action.
And I
Take
just
it.
mentioned that. And my Mars is in Pisces.
Yeah, so you're working with the spoon. Wow,
Amazing. Perfect.
amazing.
Great. Yeah. And I have to find that book also that you wrote. You have to share it with me, and I will order it or something. We will
Yeah.
arrange that. Yeah.
Do you still read a lot?
Yes. Yes.
Have you,
Always.
there's a I think he was Ukrainian philosopher, uh, Ishtak Bentov, and he wrote "Stalking the Wild Pendulum." Have you come across that book in your reading?
No.
He was,
No.
his story was he was an engineer as well. I don't know if it was tech or buildings or some kind of engineer, and he just started this receiving messages, and he was oriented towards quantum intelligence, quantum physics,
Mm,
quantum field theory, etc. And
yeah.
I came across his book that also helped articulate some of the what would you call it,
Mm,
visceral experiences I've had in my body through the practices of yoga. And that was, the piece of my book that was really using a spoon, to find the depths.
yeah.
But I started finding all these science books talking about different locations in the body, the heart, the brain, the gut, the bones, the connective tissue, everything. Scientific writers using language that was familiar to yoga. And so he was one of those writers talking about quantum field theory, that his words were like yogic, like
Mm,
it was like he was creating a map of what the ancient yogis discovered just on their yoga mats, or in those days, their little blankets on the ground. And
mm.
he was using his intellect to articulate this timeless sense of intelligence. To me, it's just beautiful when it comes to you like that. To me, it's just magical, and
Of
maybe it's
course.
not magic. And there's a quote in my
Yeah.
book that nature, or sorry, miracles are nature unimpeded,
Oh,
and that
amazing.
it is amazing. It is amazing.
Yes, because magic is very natural, or like there is nothing paranormal. Everything is normal. It's all natural thing, but we don't know how to use it, how to connect with ourselves. So, and of course, what you shared with me now with this book, that came to you in the right moment and that explained, connected yoga and science. That's what I'm talking about. It's like we are now coming back into the fusion. We are learning the science of how to connect all the different parts of everything, the science, the physics, the astrology, the astronomy. It shouldn't ever be separated, but we study all these things separated, but they are
Right.
all very much interconnected. They are in a coherent relationship with each other. And the body, we are also like looking at the body separated from the mind and emotions, and separated from the spiritual realms. But there is a very powerful cord between it all. And the spine and the back is very spiritual tool. It's
Yeah.
like the spine is the most important thing. It's actually the Jacob's ladder is the spine.
Yeah.
It's our way to the top, to the crown chakra. And the 33 years of Jesus are actually the 33 vertebrae of the spine that we have to climb to reach to the top of the Golgotha, and Golgotha is the skull. These are all the symbolism. I love symbolism. It explains everything so simply. It's of course multi-layered, but these are just one of those meanings. And for example, there is a vagus nerve right there at the top of the spine, and this fluid that can reach the top, that vagus nerve, stays there for 2.5 days, which is also the cycle that moon stays in one sign, and it's also the days that Jesus or Persephone or Inanna were also dead. They were crucified, they were sacrificed, and then after 3 days, 2.5, 3 days, they are resurrected. And this fluid, after 2.5 days, goes up and reaches that pineal gland. And the pine cone is also, that's why we have pine cone in many, many different illustrations, and in religious also illustrations. And then it reaches the pineal gland and it awakens it. But this is the science of also the physical and metaphysical. And we can reach the metaphysical through the physical. That's why it's important to cleanse, to keep the body clean, to take care of the body, because it's the temple, it's really the sacred vessel. But they teach us that we carry the spirit in the body. But from many different things, and from my own experience, what makes sense for me is that the body is in the spirit and not the other way around. And for us, it all seems upside down. And our perception from here is completely upside down. And what is presented to us as something good is not so good. We know that also. And we are living in the mirrors, and we are looking at things, but we don't see them clearly. That's why it's really important to polish ourselves all the time, like mental, emotional, physical, discipline is very, very important, but not in a way that we become obsessive about it, because many people become obsessive and they forget why they are doing that at all. They just become focused again on healing, not on their essential intention behind that. And just like, for example, meditation, people become obsessed with meditation, but they forgot why they are doing that meditation in the first place. Because meditation is not the goal. It's not the eventual goal. It's only the way to reach what we want. But it's not one-time process. You know, people think like, oh, when I reach, I don't know, enlightening or awakening, that's it. But that's just the beginning. That's something that is happening all the time, because the path is spiral. Everything is moving in spirals, not in circles, and it's non-linear existence. And we can easily connect things if we are able to perceive life in that way. Then we can read the synchronicities much easier, because they are also present all the time. Just like when you had that back problem, you got in touch with that book and things started, you know, coming up for you in a powerful way. Just like for me, like also I had some issues with my health, and then things started opening up for me that connected everything in the perfect way also. Or for example, that place where we have the greatest weakness is the point of our greatest strength. This is where we get to become powerful, where we are first weak. And for example, I had problems when I was younger to speak. I didn't want to speak at all. I was mute. And when Lucas asked me to do these recordings, like he really told me, like, you have to do this, Nina. You have to do recordings for every new and full moon. People will appreciate it. You have to share that knowledge. It's a sin not to share it. And I was like, really, no way. But then I figured out, but yes, this is what I have to do. Like, I cannot escape this, and life will always put me in uncomfortable situations where I have to get out of that, not comfort zone, but that limitation and blockage. So I eventually said yes. And look, now I'm talking all the time. This is what I do. And I
you're
had big
good at
issues
it.
because of that. Yeah, I really had big issues while growing up and in school and everywhere, because I didn't want to talk. I was always like silent. And if I have to talk, I'm blocked completely. And it's really amazing how life really wants to show you that you can always grow more, you can develop more. You are always pushed to the edge, and you have to jump into the abyss from time to time, and not to, you know, keep circling around that abyss and thinking you avoided it. You know, we always think, oh, I don't have to do it now. We reach the threshold and we come back, but we have to cross the threshold. You know, we have to really be that crazy for others who are in some kind of illusions and jump into the abyss, because this abyss won't kill us, it will heal us for sure.
Wow, I can't imagine you not speaking. You speak so well, and you can like
Yeah.
so eloquently for so long. You don't strike me as someone that can but maybe all of that, all those years that you weren't speaking and you were accumulating all of this knowledge and learning and wisdom, and now you're like, okay, I'm ready to let it
Now.
out. Yes.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
other
yeah,
thing
yeah.
that I am really inspired by is the fact that you're talking in a non-native language. You're talking in a language that you learned probably as an adult, or you know, you didn't learn it as a child, and now to be able to articulate what these concepts in a second language, I'm in awe. I use that word a lot, but I love the feeling of awe. You know, like awe is
Yeah.
awesome.
Yes, but look, for example, for me, before, whenever I was doing any kind of work, related things, I was always communicating in English, actually, because I somehow always was ending up with foreigners, and it was always something international. And for me, it was even easier to talk in this language and not in my native language. There was some kind of block there for sure. And English really helped me to open up even more than if it was necessary to do it in my language. So now I really understand that, wow, these are also identifications with personality, because when I'm speaking in other language, then I'm not really me so much. I can, you know, just play a different role. So I can jump into another role and it becomes easier. And this is also one of the great ancient techniques, that we step into another role. And they even said, like, you should give yourself a different name. Like, give yourself a different name that has, and this persona has nothing to do with, for example, Nina, but it's someone completely different who can do all the things that Nina cannot do. And you really enter the role, because we are, actors here, and we just get certain roles, but we identify with them so strongly that we forget that we are playing a role, and we think that we are that role that we are playing, and we forget the essence that we are somebody there behind that mask. And that's also one of the reasons, the cause roots of suffering also, the illusion of separation and the illusion of who we are.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think the experiences that I've had with my yoga practice, and especially the last 12 years, where through physical movement, I can create states of inner awareness where the personality gets fuzzy. There's no hard edges to the self personality. It kind of merges outward into my surrounding, whether it's in a group of people or whether it's just the nature. The dimension of time gets fuzzy. I can't tell if I'm 70 years old or I'm 17 years old. It just kind of
Yeah.
floats. And these qualities have really helped me lose the identity of the personality. I use the personality and I use the credential to move into the world, but in my private life,
Yeah.
it's totally different.
Yes, that's really true. That's also a powerful way to use the physical movements. That's what, for example, this Gurdjieff that I'm mentioning, the great mystic, was also doing. He was doing some sacred dances, and these dances, these moves of the body, were actually imitating the moves of the celestial bodies in the universe, and the moves of the sun, the moves of the moon, the moves of the planets. And those moves were unlocking something, some different potential. And he was always also pushing people off the limits, like, do more than you can, like, exhaust yourself completely physically, because then there is that threshold that we cross when we think like we cannot do it anymore, but then you go over the limits and you do more, and then things change. And this is what you just mentioned, like, you don't know how old you are. You even forget your name. You are not
Right.
identified with anything anymore. And this can be one moment, but that one moment is also precious, because then you carry it within yourself. You have experienced it. It doesn't have to last for a very long time, but if you experienced it once, you own it, and then you have the ability to experience it again. That's why it's so important to know that these are continuous experiences, not just one-time events, as some people are teaching. Like, no, it's not just awakening. It's not just a blissful moment and that's it. No, it's a constant work, and this self-work becomes actually your whole life. It's not something that you just, I have to do work on myself. No, it's your lifestyle. It's who you are, and it's the expression of your soul through your personality, through even your moves, your gestures, your looks, your voice. Your voice also is a unique identity, and the voice is also very important, because it takes us somewhere beyond the physical also. And of course, this can be traced back to Taurus, Scorpio polarity in astrology. Everything can actually be explained through these polarities and houses and signs and planets, because Taurus is the voice, it's the throat, and it has to do with that part. And Scorpio is the genitals, and what's between the throat and the genitals is the spine, and that's the path that we have to cross between Taurus and Scorpio. And they are very important signs, fixed signs that are very much related to those most important 4 elements and 4 riders of apocalypse. And it can be connected to everything, because Taurus is simplicity and Scorpio is complexity. But we have to go through complexity in order to reach simplicity. We cannot just reach the simplicity like that. No, we have to experience complexity fully, 100%. And then we can come to simplicity. It's like,
I'm laughing
it sounds
because
paradoxical.
I'm laughing because I'm Taurus and my daughter is Scorpio, and
Oh.
Thank you. Like, this is
Perfect.
better than paying a
Perfect.
psychologist to tell me what to do
Wow.
with my daughter.
Look at
Wow.
that.
Wow. And you mentioned her already. So this is also, something that comes to you as some information that you can use for transformation.
Big time. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank
Amazing.
Yes.
You're welcome.
I have one last question, and that all of that served me too because my moon is in Taurus, and I'm in
It's exalted.
communications. Yes, I'm a singer, but there has been some
Oh,
blockage. And then you mentioned like that Scorpio, and I'm very attracted to Scorpio things, but there's a lot of sensuality, and then there's lots of fear of expressing that sensuality and being seen in that way, even though that's a huge part of who I am. And
yes.
yeah, so whoa, so much
Understandable. I
whoa.
mean, look, because you are Moon in Taurus, you have to be attracted to everything that is Scorpionic because Taurus is across the Scorpio. So it's electric and magnetic thing. So if you have Moon is magnetic in Taurus, it will attract what's right there across the street from Taurus, and it's Scorpio. And this is a very, very powerful axis in astrology, Taurus Scorpio, very deep and powerful. And of course, there's a lot about that in that book, The Age of Aquarius. It's like in-depth explanation from all different angles and different teachings about Taurus Scorpio, what is happening there. And it's related to snakes, to the story, to every story that involves snakes and the shedding of old skin, and the ability to go under the ground and to go up into the surface. It's related to the trees because the roots of the trees also go deep down, but they also go up high to reach the sky. And this symbolism is very powerful. It really helps us understand how we function as living beings. And if we observe just any process in nature, we can understand the whole process of our lives too. But if we are really observing like the growth of a flower, the growth of the tree, the changes of seasons, it's all the story of us. It shows us the story of us. And it's really powerful to really be connected with nature and to be natural, to come back to our natural selves, because we are becoming artificial and it's easy to slip there. And the spirituality is also a highly slippery floor. And the more we grow and evolve, the challenges are greater. And we are always tested. And that's why they say, like, there are stories of Vestal priestesses who always carried their lamp lit on. And they always had to take care of those lamps, not to forget to always be there, to always keep that spark lit, because you never know when the test and challenge will come. And if you are weak, or if you are under stress or in critical situation, there is a big chance that you will fail in this whole story and journey of who you are working on becoming. And you know that like we are going to see who is who when critical times come. And this is when we know, like, are we really able to walk this path or not? And that's why we really have to do the work all the time. And this is why Saturn is also important in astrology, because Saturn and Mars together rule this whole matrix. Saturn, the chronos, the time, and Saturn is constant work, it's discipline, it's structured work, self-mastery, reaching the top, no matter what. But of course, this is also twisted, and this Saturn is ruling us in a very wrong way, like doing the hard work all the time and thinking that we can achieve something only if we work hard. But this is also not true. And these things have to be understood in a really right way. But it takes some workouts to understand how these things work, really.
Speaking of light,
Sorry, you
I
wanted
just
to
wanted
say,
to ask you, one last question, a light question. If your inner teacher had a theme song, what would it be?
Wow. My inner teacher theme song. Wow. Oh, that's a tough one, you know? It's really a tough one because I have the craziest playlist in my mind.
Well, what's the playlist? Name a few songs.
Name a few songs. Look, it's really difficult, but for me, not these days, but this whole period of time, for me, it's a band that maybe you heard, maybe you didn't, called Vardruna. Vardruna, they are from Norway, and they are coming back to the roots. And when they play and sing and come together, it's really like you are listening to your soul speaking to you. And it goes beyond the language. It goes beyond the language. Explore them. I follow them wherever they have concert. I go there because to see them live is really experience, and you can hear the call of your soul there. And what they are doing, for example, this guy from the Vardruna, he used to be a drummer in a black metal band. So it's something completely different. And he transformed, he went through that path of transformation. And he is now creating instruments, recreating old ancient instruments. And he's collecting old stories, the stories of the human being and nature. And he's putting them into life through, of course, enlivening those instruments again and singing those songs. These are, like folklore stories, and it's always a very deep connection, and you just feel it. For example, I don't understand Norwegian language, but I feel it. I feel it, and I always have goosebumps, like my soul has goosebumps, and my tears start, just coming up for, I have no control. It's really like feeling the deep roots. So whichever song from them is really something special. It's an experience. It's not just a song, and it's really you will hear. You cannot put it into words.
I look forward to listening. I thank you for sharing that. I feel the same about
Yes.
music. Like the words sometimes get in the way. It's
Yeah.
the voice and it's the music. So thank you for sharing.
Yes. This has been such a
Thank
great
you.
chat. If you're open to it, we'd love to
Yes.
do a part 2 in the future.
Of course, because I see now this 1 hour is very short for
is.
all that we want to speak about. Yeah.
Exactly. But thank you so much, Nina. It was
Yeah,
so
thank
lovely
you.
to
Definitely.
chat with you. Yeah.
Thank you so much. You both are just amazing. I had very good experience here with both of you. It was so lighthearted and deep and profound, meaningful. Like really, thank you. And I'm looking forward to doing the part 2, of course.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
That's it for this episode. Be well and stay open to the teacher within. If you've enjoyed our time together, follow or subscribe and stay tuned for upcoming chats you don't want to miss.